Welcome back to Stompbox Breakdown. This week is a twofer, kind of. It's the Boss OS-2 Overdrive / Distortion. And I like this pedal because it's got overdrive. It's got distortion. And it's got this color knob over here that lets you combine them. Now, this pedal first came out in 1990, and as of late 2021, it's still in production. It's been around for over 30 years, so that's a pretty good sign, right? And you really can think of this as two pedals in one. There are two parallel paths going on in here, one for overdrive and one for distortion. Of course, let's talk about our knobs. The level knob is your overall output volume. Tone lets you boost or cut the high frequencies. Drive adds gain. And then the color knob, all the way on the right here, this lets us blend between the overdrive and distortion. That's neat, but it begs the question, what really is the difference between overdrive and distortion? Well, spoiler alert, those are just convenient labels. Both distortion and overdrive a signal resulting in distortion. But Boss clearly has made a distinction between the two, and there really is a difference in the two circuits in here. And if I draw out what's happening in those different circuits, I think I can make the difference really clear. When you take an audio signal like, I don't know, a guitar, and you put it through an amplifier, that's the symbol for an amplifier right there, and send that amplified signal past a pair of diodes wired directly to the ground, these diodes will take any portion of the signal over a certain threshold and basically just chop it off. That right there is known as hard clipping, which Boss classifies as distortion. So, clean. Hard clipping distortion. In an overdrive circuit, you've still got those diodes that do the clipping, but instead of straight up cutting off the peak and throwing it away, it sends a portion of that signal back to the amplifier on the inverse input. And you can think of that as like the brake pedal to the regular input's gas pedal. The more this signal goes above the threshold over here, the harder this steps on the brake. So eventually the signal will end up with a flat top, but it will have this smoother transition curve before and after it gets there. That right there is your typical soft clipping, or what Boss calls overdrive. And if we look at the schematic for this thing, you'll see just that. Here's a hard clipping circuit up here. Notice the diodes go straight to the ground. And over here, there's a soft clipping circuit where the diodes go back to the inverse side of the amplifier. And both of those run in parallel to the color knob, so we get to mix between them. And a bit of tourist information, notice how the soft clipping side has that one diode going this way and two diodes going the other way. That tells us this is an asymmetrically clipping circuit. So on our sound wave, one side will get clipped slightly more than the other. And that's said to give us more odd order harmonics, which I'm told sounds more like what happens when you overdrive a real, actual live tube amplifier. I don't know. You'll find symmetric, asymmetric, hard and soft clipping circuits in pedals that are legendary and pedals that are forgotten. Expensive and cheap, vintage and new. It's not a matter of what's better or worse, it's just a matter of taste. But the fact that this one's got symmetric hard clipping and asymmetric soft clipping gives us even more variety. So I like that. Look, if all that was super boring, then don't worry, it doesn't really matter anyway. We're gonna go with the gear that we like because it makes us happy, not because of what the diodes inside of it look like. However, knowing all this can help us identify different styles of gain circuits, and it expands our vocabulary, which can help us make more informed purchasing decisions. But that's why I really like this pedal for beginners or general purpose boards. It's a Swiss Army knife. What kind of dirt will I need or will I want? I don't know. Why not pack two different flavors and mix between them? Let's take a look at a non-Boss pedal for a minute, the Friedman BEOD. This is the deluxe version. It's just got 2 channels instead of 1. Presumably, the OD stands for Overdrive, and I think it does a really good job of sounding like a high-gain Marshall. Let's take a look at the schematic. It's got a bunch of gain stages, so it's laying it on thick. But look over here at the end. Those are hard clipping diodes. It's using some hard clipping at the end to add a little bit of razzle-dazzle. So is this an overdrive or a distortion pedal? The answer is we don't care because those are just labels and we like the way it sounds. And even if it were marketed as a ham sandwich, I would still really like this pedal. What about the Caroline Haymaker, another absolute favorite of mine? This pedal's actually got a 3-way switch that lets you go between soft clipping, hard clipping, and bypassing those clipping diodes entirely. So what kind of pedal is this again? It's an awesome pedal. That's what kind of pedal it is. So back to the OS-2 though. It's got distortion, it's got overdrive, and it might not be the most exciting or distinctive dirt pedal in the world, but it sounds great in the mix. It's got a wide range of sounds to it that you can dial in from the color knob. It works great for guitar and bass, and you can find these things for like $50. At least you can as of late 2021. It's a great value, but it does have its limitations. You can only dial in one setting, and it's the same for both distortion and overdrive. You have to reach down and adjust the knob to switch between the 2 sides, so that's inconvenient. And the 2 effects are always in parallel. What if I really wanted to be like 2 effects pedals and stack them one after the other? All that stuff is addressed in the Boss JHS collaboration, the Angry Driver. This fella has a JHS Angry Driver distortion and a Boss Blues Driver in one pedal. And maybe you can think of this as the OS-2 Waza edition. Despite being around for 30 years, this one never got a Waza version. Ain't nothing wrong with the OG, though. The OS-2 has seen plenty of pedal boards, and for plenty of good reason. It's a shape-shifting, space-saving chameleon of a pedal that has stood the test of time and maybe deserves another look. So until the next episode of Stompbox Breakdown, OS-2-toodaloo. Oh my god, that was horrible. I'm not really gonna leave that in, am I?